My name is Edith Young. I am a general partner at Race Capital and also part of Founders Hong Kong. Today, I'm super excited to have Frost Lee, founder, CEO of Social Chat, and also the former head of growth at Wish, to share with us how to build an awesome e-commerce brand from nothing to billion-dollar business. But before we start, before I introduce Frost, I want to quickly remind for everybody who's joining, which usually would take a couple of minutes, and because I'm sharing, so I can't see anything. For those of you who are joining, just want to remind you, Founders Hong Kong is a nonprofit organization with the goal to connect Silicon Valley with founders from Hong Kong, from Asia. We really want to be the conduit to bring you the best and the brightest expert. And in this case, Frost Lee, who's an amazing growth hacker and expert in this area. So we're super excited to have her. But before we go and I'm going to actually turn the whole entire time, at least the next 30 to 40 minutes or so to Frost to teach us about how to build an e-commerce brand. Probably about like 30 to 40 minutes or so. We will leave sometime 15 to 20 minutes to let everybody to have Q&A. So feel free to actually put the question in the Q&A or the chat session. And then when we do Q&A, I will actually bring you to have live video. So we'll get to see you when you ask the question as well. Before Frost starts, just really quick. So Frost was a former GM and head of growth at Wish, where she focused on optimizing user experience from acquisition, activation, engagement to retention across all channels. She's originally an engineer, spent time at Twitter, advisor to Pinterest and Lyft. Definitely one of the top growth expert in the Bay Area. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and now I'm going to let Frost to share, and then I'm going to go away and be back in about 40 minutes or so. Thank you, Frost. All yours.
Thank you so much, Edith. Hi, everyone. I'm going to just start sharing the slide, and I will leave a Q&A session at the end, like Edith just said. So feel free to just comment anything on the chat section if you have any questions. So today I want to talk about how to build an amazing e-commerce brand. A little bit of a background of myself. Like Edith said, I was a former GM and head of growth at Wish, where I basically built this growth engine for the e-commerce app that has been growing all the way to 500 million registered users and 100 million monthly active. I also was advising Pinterest, Shopify, Twitch, bunch of different other companies. And I originally started my career as a machine learning engineer. So my field would be very data driven and in a machine learning way. Right now, I'm running Social Chat, a SaaS solution to help companies with social commerce that I would talk a little bit later as well. So today we'll focus on 4 essential steps of the path to brand success. Number 1 is the brand presence. You want to present your brand to the world or to your target audience. And there are so many ways to do it. We do our website definitely through SEO. But today we also want to focus on the power of social media platforms because it's very viral and you get to directly access very different kinds of users if you do the right strategies. Number 2, after we already have the brand presence, after people already know a little bit about you, the next important step is we start generating sales. And here we want to be able to leverage our brand presence that we already have built or at least started to build to help us to get the users to make their first purchases. And then after we have some success in getting the first purchases, we need to scale it up more. And that's when the social shopping comes into the play. And as we talk through the path, you'll see why this unlocks another really big chunk of the opportunity of growth. And down the way, the most important thing for a sustainable business is we have to be able to keep the users. It should not be a one-time purchase only. The users should be able to purchase again or at least refer their friends if they like the experience. as well as they leave positive reviews and just the voice and the show of mind online for you. So let's go from step 1, how to grow your brand. We all know when we are doing our brand positioning, we need to know our audience. It seems really simple as we put down here. There's available market, there's potential market, there's target market. But we all know sometimes the target market is not that obvious for us in the beginning. That's why we need to try out different content strategies and reach to different users and see, okay, what is the demographic online shoppers in the vertical your store is in that are the early adopters or the most engaging users with highest conversion for you? And where do they usually shop at? For example, when you are just selling, they say, a new apparel brand, you have to think about what is the price point you are putting in and who would be able to buy, who would be most interested in, and how to reach to them. And once you think it through in the initial practice, we enter these metrics to choose the different platforms. Is your product offering a very broad offering, or you are hitting a very specific type of people? For example, are you a fashion brand that sells shoes, jewelry, apparel, perfume, everything all together? Or are you doing a specific crafty photo frame for a particular type? And based on that, you will choose the different platforms. Pinterest definitely broader and on the luxury side versus Facebook Marketplace as of now is more specific to the local people who are living around you and more on the deal side. The crafty experience is on Etsy. The super broad deals are on Wish, and Instagram kind of sits in the middle and a little bit towards like the luxury side as well. And once you chose the platform and thought about what your brand is supposed to look like, you want to start trying different content strategies and make sure you measure them in a way that you know whether it is a success or not. For example, they say we put these 3 different photos. Let's check the engagement, how many likes do you get, how many reshares do you get, and the following, how many people decide to follow you or sign up on your email newsletter, or even create an account to continuously hear from you. That is actually a much stronger indicator than likes, because it's not a one-time thing, it's a continuous engagement and commitment. And eventually, what we care the most about is still the return on investment. When you are putting so much effort of creating these creatives and sometimes even put in budget for advertising, are we getting the right return in terms of the dollar sign? And once we have all these measured, we would like to do A/B testing. In other words, testing different kind of strategies, format of the content, video, images, text, live streaming, basically anything to see what gives us the best mix of all these numbers. So basically you'll see a marketing funnel looks kind of like this. You see the engagement on social media, but you also really care about is not only the engagement on social media. The actual thing that matters is the visitor on your site who takes any meaningful actions. Minimal actions here depends on what your site is like, but usually we mean users create an account, or they sign up with email, or they book an appointment with you, or they fill in the contact form with their phone number. But basically they showed their intention to keep in contact and to purchase. And then the add to cart and purchase session. These numbers are not really a specific benchmark I pulled, but that's kind of the ratio I've seen across the industry that we always have to keep in mind. The engagement to purchase is a huge drop off. And so when we are getting excited about a lot of engagement, actually, we really need to ensure all the middle stages are getting measured and we are optimizing it. Step 2, as we talk about the funnel, we want to make sure we are generating the sales in a repeatable way. So just imagine when you are selling online, you are basically like on an online shopping mall. Users are extremely overwhelmed as they walk into the mall. There are so many stores, so many banners, so many things going on. You want them to come to your store directly, but how so? Before they even know you. You need to differentiate yourself. Sometimes people do sales. You have different kind of creatives that in real world, usually you see the really big banner and posters in the shopping malls, or even some gigantic screens showing the videos telling users about what's going on with the store and the new release. And once the users come into your store, just like in person, the sales representatives always want to get your info. They ask you to sign up for membership so you can get loyal points, or you can accumulate certain membership status that you get better service so they can reach out to you again. And the personalization, so they feel every time they visit you, they get a better and more relevant experience. That's why they keep going back. In real life, that's kind of, I really like the salesperson at this store. Therefore, I want to visit again because this person just knows my taste so well and knows exactly what I want. So why would I switch to another store? When we are doing all this initial differentiation and creatives, it also matters a lot which platform you're on, because different platforms, they promote and focus on different kind of content depending on the platform style. So Pinterest, as known for a discovery content platform, it really cares about which category and vertical you are in. So it tries to show user the type of content they try to discover. And the more saves people have in before it's called repins, the more they think your content is of high quality. So you try to optimize towards that. Versus for Instagram, they care about trending content. In other words, at Pinterest, a content that I've been posting 2 or 3 weeks ago can still be like really, really popular on the front page because they care about the overall engagement. Versus Instagram cares about on the time of what is trending, right? And that's why there's even a hashtag called latergram, because most Instagrams, they're supposed to be right at the moment. So you want to optimize for the velocity and the timing. When do your users check their social? Is it 10 a.m. or is it 6 p.m. or even later? You want to time that when you're posting your content. And for Wish, it's completely different. So it is actually just a shopping platform instead of, yes, you can check out on Pinterest and Instagram as well, but Wish is even more so, they want the checkout to happen right there. So it gives the impressions to the stores or the merchants who have the highest conversion purchases or a to cart event. In other words, you want to optimize for an image in the Wish grid. If people click on it, do they actually check out? Or if not checking out, at least do they add the product into the cart? That's when they promote you higher in the feed. After you have to optimizing for the platform will show more of your content, what a lot of the brands and online stores do is they just do a bunch of sales. What is crazy about this is even though you'll see a short-term boost, because who doesn't like to see sales? Users totally click on your sales, but make sure you do the lift analysis extremely carefully, because very likely some of the users, they will buy it anyways on your site, but because you keep running sales, it ends up to be they hold on buying on your site and actually just wait for you to run the next sale event because you are running so often. Another thing is when you keep running sales to new users for user acquisition, some users, they feel, well, why would I keep using my account? I will just register a new account that I can get new sales, like user promotions that you're running on Facebook or Instagram. And therefore, you actually lose a lot of margin and even user relevance, even though you see a short-term boost in the sales volume. The last but not least is the creative optimization. When we are finding out what creative that works really well for our user target, we also have to remember one thing is users nowadays get bombarded by the content. Like every day when they scroll their Instagram, when they scroll their Facebook, they see your ads so many times per day. So the creative fatigue actually happens faster than ever before. And even if you're, in this example, even if your initial creative has a really high conversion that is amazing, if you don't change it, it basically drops exponentially once it reaches a tipping point, and it's no longer positive ROI for you after a certain time. The solution to do that is you want to scale your creative production, which is really hard to do on the branding side because it's just really expensive to keep producing a lot of videos and a lot of images. So that's why a lot of brands move to UGC. UGC stands for user-generated content. You let your users to take photos of what they bought, share reviews of what they think, even upload videos of your comments. Ideally, you want it to be as rich content as possible, as well as you can scale. And another side effect of this, user-generated content feels more real, and therefore usually yield much higher conversion than branding content, even though the video may not be pretty, but people know it is something from a real user who have bought the product before. As we talk about more user-generated content, also another thing is you try to make those content more interactive, because that's human, that's how our psychology works. When it's more interactive, we engage more. And when we engage more, we put more efforts in, we end up purchasing more, or we end up getting more addicted to it. It's just how our brains are wired. So it starts from text, which is just user reviews. You have some engagement, pretty good, but it would not be nearly as good as if the users post their images or they post a video. And the most difference that makes is when you make it interactive, ideally real time, because that's when users feel they are really participating, and that's when the real conversion happens. I can give you a little bit of the benchmark of how these things work, but you probably observed it on all the social media sites that advertisement of all the big brands have come more and more towards from text, image, video to now promoting their live event. But the engagement of difference of each type is almost exponential, like 2x difference from the less engaging style of content. Since we talk about the more engaging the content is, the better conversion is, we have to talk about live video shopping, because that's literally the most interactive and the most real time that users love the most nowadays, that we see everywhere. But when we are running live events, one thing a lot of brands do is they don't really plan it and share it first. Make sure you mark a date and share with users via email, via different social media accounts you have. And sometimes we forget about, we should also share this on our own website. Today, users know this event is about to happen. A lot of times we see an IG live event, it's just a push notification coming out there. A lot of people, they just don't have time to watch it at the moment. So you lose a lot of potential views. People cannot plan around it. And most importantly, people couldn't share it themselves, right? They see a push notification. How do they share to their friends that they should also see this? They have to send the account. It just, the entire experience is very not taking advantage of the viral effect that should have, nor the engaging interactive part. So this is what I would do myself, that I should let user to be able to RSVP, and with all the social proof who are going, with the context of when it would happen, and with the share button here, if they want to invite their friends, they can do that as well. The good thing about this is not only they get a reminder before the event, they will definitely remember, but also you get their email. We will talk about how important it is. You get a user's contact info compared with you only have their social following. When you are running the live events, another thing you have to remember about is you want to mix and match the different types. Of course, we want to do the promotional ones all the time, anytime, and make users just like keep buying. But it gets old, and people, unless you really have new products to launch all the time every week, it's really hard to keep users very interested and engaged. If we mix in educational, such as how to use product, how to mix and match your product, what kind of product should you use? People feel they are learning something, or you get some loyal users to share their stories, how they love your product, why. And mix in with your promotional events, that'll make the entire user interaction more neutral, more fun, more community-based, and again, more long-term. They want to keep coming back instead of they feel, oh, I should only come back if there's a sales or promotion event. As we are running the events, given the #1 rule of e-commerce is we have to make it actionable, because no one remembers about this next day, what you were talking about. Make them be able to purchase right away. Or if your goal is to make them share more to their friends or other users in the community, make sure they share. And it's easy to share at the moment. If you want to create more user loyalty, when they share more, they get loyalty points. Make it clear. Make it, again, happen right there. If the goal is just to do more content generation, if you're having an interactive session with users, so you can reuse the content, again, encourage users to do that. Give more feedback, comments more, tell us your story, make it happen right when you are running the event. That's why it is so powerful about live interactive event, is you make people take the action right there. If people are reading an email, they don't think they need to react right at the moment. But this, make it very timely so people do what you want to do at the moment. For example, here is what I would do on social chat. When the live event is happening, you have the add to cart right on the event. People do not need to close the app they are watching your live. Go to a browser, go to a website, search for the product, add to cart. It's too much friction. People are not going to remember it, and people are not going to do this most of the time. Make it easy for them. Tell them, add these to cart now, and you can get X points for loyalty, or you can get this free timely coupon. If you must give coupon, make it timely, right? Only during the event, you get 10% off. In this way, you get the 3 pillars of e-commerce all execute for you at once. Scarcity, only for people who are watching the event. Urgency, you have to take the action right there. Social proof, you see other people are doing it because it's an interactive session. So you feel, other people are doing this. Of course, I would like to do it as well. But again, put the call to action before users leave the session. So now we talk about all the social media, all the different ways of doing creatives. The users have reached on your site from top of the funnel to the website experience right before the checkout. The goal is we want to keep them. Why? That's what we were talking about earlier. They are only your users if you can reach them again for free. If they are just following you on Facebook or Instagram, most of the times when you post, they don't see it unless you boost the post again, which is expensive. If they see your product on Amazon just once, but there's no way for you to reach out to them again, you just have to run advertisement on Amazon to reach them again, or hope they would somehow run into your product again, but that's not guaranteed. In other words, if you cannot reach your user again without burning the money right here, they are not your users yet. Make them your users. That comes to the step 4, and the most important part is how to keep loyal users. Or we can just say how to make them your users, not just people who engage with you at the top of funnel site once or twice. And once they are your users, how to keep them for longer and they have higher LTV. The LTV can be from themselves, they buy more, or from them sharing such a good positive experience that they refer their friends coming in and bring in more lifetime value. The answer is simple in terms of concept: personalization. Why do we keep going back to a store? We like the offering of the store, of course, but we also get better and better experience and better service every time we go back. That's why we want to keep going back. Imagine the difference of 2 brands. One is Macy's and the other one Sephora. The huge difference in between is when you go back to Sephora, it knows exactly all the products you have bought before, and they put the exact recommendation of products that are related to you. That's why you always sign in. Versus for Macy's, I wouldn't say they're not trying to do that, but they're not there yet. So it's really just a pure sales play. I found out Macy does way more sales than Sephora, yet not only you lose margin, users don't really have the incentive to keep using their account in the store and online. The personalization is everywhere. You make the users feel special, and you make them see the value of being loyal. Like we talked about in the example, a lot of sites, when users come to the site, the first thing they see is, give us your email and you will get 10% off or 20% off of your first purchase. In other words, you are encouraging users basically to register. If they are new users, that's great. You may increase your conversion a lot. But for your loyal users, what do they get? They pay things at the original value. So why would users not just register a new account that they can gain 10% off or 20% off? So you thought this marketing dollar is going to a user acquisition, but what it really is you lower your margin by 10%, 20% of all the purchases ever. Because users see negative value of being loyal at this point because users get better deals. They try to offer the value in sometimes monetary, but ideally, most of the time, non-monetary way. They try to make users have the personalized experience when they get into shopping on your site. Whatever they bought before really change the site content to be more relevant. They have the community that they leave more user-generated content and they read and consume more user-generated content from other users. The email and promotion is not static. It's always relevant to their actions that perform on the site. The live events or the videos are always interactive. You directly talk to them. So they know this is not a one-fit-all content. And whenever they reach out to you, you know who they are based on all the data you already have of their previous engagement. And therefore, you really make them feel, yeah, it's great to be a loyal customer of this brand. Just a really quick example. Even at a user-generated content as it reviews, this is a more similar user to me versus this one user. She talks about the fit and her sizing and height is closer to me. So when I see the product, this review should be ranked on the top for me versus this user who cares more about the texture and how warm it is, which is not really that relevant to me. And he is just very different from me in terms of where he lives, the weather there, the age, and like his height and weight and everything. So instead of just right now, most of the reviews are just sorted by time. User leave the review. Why don't we sort it by what is more relevant to the users? And it's not only the review, but it's like everything on the site. Make it a personalized shopping experience, just like when people walk into a well-run store. Instead of when the e-commerce store is just static and everyone sees the same, it's really just a catalog. And just imagine what's the difference in conversion of having a personalized shopper at the store versus a user is reading the catalog in the store. That will be the difference of conversion of your online personalized social shopping experience versus a catalog shopping experience. Therefore, we reach our final goal, which is a happy user cycle. When we serve user the relevant content, they would be more engaged. And therefore, they make more purchases. When the more engagement and more purchases happen, that's more data for our machine learning models. And therefore, the content will be more relevant in the future. And this positive feedback is a money generating machine that is good for you and make your users happier as well. The most important thing here is this is scalable. When you reach to more and more users, these machine learning models would help you to scale. It's repeatable. It's not a one-time sales event. It's not a Black Friday. You are losing money for running a sale to get users' attention. It's just more relevant data and more personalization. So you can keep repeating it again. It's predictable. As you learn more data from the users, you actually get other benefits. You know how much you can sell. So it helps your logistics. You know how much support people will need. So it helps you to decide how fast you should scale your support team. Everything gets easier for you to plan. And finally, you have a sustainable business. Because this is a feedback loop that runs again. There's no hack of one-time promotion. There's no thing called, oh, I just hired a celebrity, so we get this spike. This is a consistent, smooth, better and better experience for the users every time they visit back. And therefore you maintain your margin. You don't have to spend more while users getting better experience and having a higher LTV. So thanks for coming. And I just want to end these slides with data has a better idea than all our gut feeling. And that's how we build a successful e-commerce brand. If you are running an e-commerce brand and interested to learn more about how you can run in a more social, interactive, or personalized way for your users, feel free to reach out to me at frost@unsocialchat.com or I'm at Frost on Twitter. Thank you. Hi, Edith. I think we can enter the Q&A session for people.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Frost, for taking the time. I love the fact that you gave very specific example. So now I'm going to actually, I guess we have, if you have anonymous attendees, so no particular person per se, if you would recommend one book, it doesn't have to be one actually, as many books that you think we should read for building great e-commerce brand, what would that be?
That's a very interesting question. To be honest, I feel the brand building and the ecosystem change so fast. I would actually recommend more blog posts than books because books actually publish much slower. But there's one book I definitely love, and I think it never gets old. It's about Nike. So it's not only about the branding, how they build a brand, but also if you read about why they left Amazon to create a way more, so Nike really cares about their brand. So they actually left Amazon to create their own website, which is unheard of at the time because everyone's on Amazon. And you can read the story about how they made the decision, both on the branding perspective and on performance perspective. How do they personalize users' experience? How do they calculate the ROI? And how do they measure all the extra marketing efforts they have to do in order to achieve the same sales? Highly recommend that book.
Got it. I just type out your email for folks who wanted to reach out to you. It's frost@onsocialchat.com, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. I guess our audience is a little bit shy, so I'm going to ask some other questions. So it depends on, I think, particularly in Asia, when you're first starting out, right? We have these more philosophical conversation before, and you work with a lot of bigger brand. If I'm like a smaller brand, first off, I don't have enough, I guess, talent to actually do it. Well, obviously, you just taught us a lot of things that we should think about, but then at the same time, I still have to learn from scratch. Like, what would be your recommendation? One is, how do I even like put my resources against some of these marketing, if I only have limited marketing budget, one. And second, if I decided to hire someone, so let's say I'm going to outsource this to somebody else, what would be like the list of things that you will ask them to make sure that I'm hiring legit people?
Yeah, I will share 2 points. One is I keep saying on the slide again and again, and that's actually how I end the slide. The data has a better idea. Definitely put your resource on understanding your performance. Sometimes I see founders just going really hard, like, oh, I want to post 100 posts per day, like 50 videos per month. But if they're not performing, the numbers mean nothing. Make sure you measure all your efforts. And then the second point, who should we hire? How do we iterate? That's another point of why we need to add the measurement first. Because once we start measuring, then we know what works the best, right? Maybe our email just works so well. Maybe we should target specific type of users. So once we have the measurement, we also know better, like who should we hire? And it's across marketing and all other things. For example, there was a brand I was advising. They were deciding whether they should hire a category leader for sourcing of home first, which is bedding, sheets and stuff, or jewelry. And asked me exactly the question. And I was like, well, why don't we run some Facebook marketing and run some like social events first? They just talk to users live and see what gets better engagement. And we found out their beddings have much higher ROI. And that's how they hire their bedding category leader first. So even to the point of like a saucer, it can be decided by data.
I see. So Frost, one last question, and I'm going to turn to James to ask that question live. Like, what are like the tools that you would recommend in terms of analytics and metrics measurements?
It's actually a lot of tools, but actually that's actually coming to a little bit like why I started this company, because I personally found it's really challenging to measure if you hire an influencer to do, say, like a live event on IG. It basically is impossible because they're not running this on your site. So for social media, I would say try to use their platform measurement. When I was at Wish, I run, like we actually spend billions of dollars per year. And the strongest data points we have are still from the platforms.
Got it. I see.
Yeah, because only they know. And then the next thing is you try to push users to register on your site. That's the second point of my slide, because without that, it's really hard to measure.
But the biggest,
basically impossible.
Yes, but the biggest pain point is Facebook is not giving you, any of us, email address. And then when you created the actual user using email and register is very, very different to correlate, right?
Yeah, so again, that's why I built this product. But again, like if you just want to do this, basically figure out a way to get users to register on your site and move this interaction as early as possible down to the funnel that users actually engage with your site as a user. Before that, they are just visitors to your social media platform. And it is a bonus point here, which is it used to be more useful to grow followers because Facebook will actually let your followers see your post. But as of last year, Facebook changed their algorithm. So now it's almost, I wouldn't say impossible, but now it's really hard to reach to your followers without boosting the post.
Yeah.
Boosting means you pay extra money because they change your algorithm to be towards more of friend circle than the brands you follow.
Yeah. Got it. I'm going to promote James to, James, please show your video so we can see you and you can ask a Frost question live. Let's give James a couple minutes because usually it takes some time to transfer over. Hi, James.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for organizing, Edith, and hi, Frost. The question I have is, as a new entrepreneur, new startup e-commerce site, how often would you recommend us to post on social networks to get the right exposure at the beginning? Let's say I just freshly start last week. What's your recommendation?
I can just give you a ballpark, but just as I said in just my presentation, it really depends on what is your brand? You have to measure the effectiveness. So you actually know like how often and in what format that is the best. So if I were you, I'll start slow because it's really expensive to do it. And you know you can accelerate it when you see the user's engagement reach the break-even point. So I'll make an example. If you post one video, costs you $500 to create that video, then post this video and see when does it break even, right? And then if every week it breaks even, great, double it, right? If it breaks even again because your video quality keeps increasing and you make your site more and more relevant, double again. So you kind of scale from there to see what is the right frequency and what is the right format as well. Because initially you potentially also don't want to spend all the money on one concept, right? You are still feeling the voice and the tone. So that's also safer for your budget.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. And is there any difference between, sorry, one follow-up question. Is there any difference between operating in different countries or in different region? For example, I'm in Hong Kong. My target audience are in Hong Kong, but I also have aspiration to be in the US. Is there any difference in terms of how we do this?
So when I was at Wish and I was advising a lot of these companies usually are extremely international. So I'll say like a super hands-on experience was at Wish. I scaled the company from basically a few countries to we actually end up doing branding and marketing in 40 different countries. And I feel the only way to make it work of scaling in different regions is you really believe in data. Because we wouldn't be able to know what users will behave differently. Like you can read as many books as possible, but it's really not telling the full story until we see users' interactions. And sometimes they would really shock you of their purchasing behaviors. And I'll share one really interesting example. I literally just ate a snow mountain at the background of all our media content in Norway. And the conversion increased by 20%. I've never thought about that. It's really just a snow mountain. So they feel it's like a local brand.
I see.
Right? So I know, but that's also just like data, right? We just have so many things. Like, again, we scale the content production to a lot of user-generated content. So that's why it has so many content to try out. And then you read the data to see which wins. And then you have the much higher conversion rate in different regions. I feel that's a way that can scale because if you were to do like manual research in every region, number one, it's extremely expensive. Number two is I've hired those agencies before. They always underperform our A/B testing, A/B testing platform because no one knows better than our users.
Sure.
Right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what it is.
Okay. Thank you, Frost. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to thank you, James. Now I'm going to demo you. Oh, he already left. Very good. Okay. So I'm going to actually bring up Christopher. 1 second. Ask this question. Christopher, maybe your name, company, and then also your question. Hey, Christopher.
Cool. Hi. Hey, Frost. Thank you for your presentation this morning. Really helpful. My question revolved around referral programs. As the customers are going through that journey, is there kind of a rule of thumb that you've seen where you would typically introduce users to some sort of referral opportunity? And do you localize those for different markets?
Yeah, so okay, that's an entire question. So I have an extremely different view for internationalization, which I've done with so many companies. Internationalization is just the same as user segmentation. So even in the same country, you have so many different kinds of users. So you want to treat them differently as well. So in other words, I think how would you optimize for it is if you think in a way of different user segments that have a different personalized experience, it will just work automatically for your international market plus the translation service. Does that make sense? Instead of like we try to guess what it would be. I don't speak any language other than Chinese and English, but I did the internationalization for like 40 plus countries. Literally not because I understand the culture, just because I treat them as different user cohorts. And when you are asking about like machine learning and all these different platforms, that's really my bread and butter. Before I started this company, as Edith shared, I was literally advising all these different companies to build these models in-house. But here's my real suggestion. The companies who get me to advise that are like Twitch, Pinterest, Lyft, right? I don't know if that makes sense for small companies to do it in-house. If you have a lot of machine engineers and you think they are up and running, they know this really well, I highly recommend it. If not, I would recommend you just to buy a solution as much as possible in the early days, just because another reason is you need a lot of data to make it work. And your company just may not even have that much data that you need to really rely on someone who has the models running already to help you out.
Cool.
That makes sense. Thank you. Just Mike, but just to follow on was do you typically, would you advise, as a rule of thumb, as a general, would you advise someone to introduce referrals after an initial interaction or after repeat interactions with a customer? Is there a point which is too early for customers to begin to refer?
Great question.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you ask users to refer. One is the users have a great experience, therefore they refer their friends. That's how most referral program works. However, I'm actually working with a company right now. Their product really helps users with like health, like basically make user healthier with better discipline. So what we found out is a lot of times, because real users, they're already very sick, therefore they don't really have the ability to seek a lot of solutions. So the referral program becomes more like the caretakers are getting this for their patients or for the people they are taking care of, like their family members, their friends, their employers. So I would think about what is a value proposition for why this user would refer. Does that make sense? So it's never too early if the value proposition is there.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. We're going to have Conrad to ask. Bye, Chris. How do I put it back to attendees? Okay. All right. Now we have Conrad asking the next question. Conrad is in the ether trying to join, but he's lost. Okay.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi, guys.
Conrad.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. How you doing? Yeah, funny. It's just got.
We have 6 minutes and 3 more people to ask questions. So how do we?
Okay, I'll be very quick. I need your advice on channel strategy, because I'm going to launch a web e-commerce site. I'm going to do advertising on Facebook, IG, and other website, right? So I'm expecting to get customer inquiries. I'm going to get orders from all different channels, all right? And I'm going to get inquiries from WhatsApp, WeChat, IG messaging, Facebook. So I want to ask Frost, what kind of solutions do you recommend for me to handle this kind of multi-channels inquiries and customer service?
Short answer, don't do it. If you are just starting advertising, don't do so many channels. You'll be overwhelmed. It's extremely hard to measure the success. You have to be able to do lift analysis. So unless you have a huge team of data scientists, it's going to be very challenging. If you really want to do it, then do it in a way that you put small budget in each and quickly decide which one you want to focus on.
Okay,
But
I'm thinking
of,
yeah, go ahead. I'm thinking of there's there's cloud contact center, where you can just pay a subscription to, you can have a, like a chatbot to support, the inquiries from, and I just do it pay per use, You mean you don't recommend I do it manually to support customer service?
You go crazy.
Yeah. So have you tried any solutions in the market? Twilio. Have you? I want to ask whether you have.
So it depends on what you want to do. If you want to do it at support side, I've seen a lot of successful cases. If you want to do it on the upselling side, I see much fewer success. It's much harder to lay the chatbot to get users to purchase things.
Okay.
The reason being is it's a bot and people would know about this. I would say I would rather.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking of like somebody Google a company, a product, and then you from the Google search engine you can do a one-click video, and then you can chat with the customer right away, and it's much faster once you don't recommend this kind of strategy.
You can try to do that. I'm not against anything if you are just trying it out. I wouldn't double down on like 5 channels all at the same time.
Okay. No, right? I'm just saying I wouldn't say I would probably start off with WhatsApp and WeChat because I'm expecting my customers from China, so it definitely will be WeChat and WhatsApp. So there'll be 2 channels. So I'm trying to support both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would
Great.
try that.
Guys, I have to.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks for your advice anyway. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you,
okay.
Connor.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Okay, we have a few more questions. I'm just going to quickly ask because we don't have enough time to bring everybody on board. And I'm trying to remove Connor. All right. For us, any particular advice for sort of lower frequency but higher lifetime value e-commerce transaction? So it's not necessary for, I don't know, what would that be? Like a car. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's like wearables, right? Like watch, sports ring and stuff. So for that, you want to define like a key action. You want to get users to have a way to be able to reach users, even though they cannot make the purchase right away. So the thing becomes more relevant in the slides we're talking about. Make them your users, because for those high quality, high value products, people need usually 5 to 7 times interaction before they buy.
Got it. Make
get your contact info. Yeah.
Two more questions, and then we stop at 7, which is if I have a limited, very small budget. So let's say not budget, like my revenue is $30,000. Do you recommend I actually spend 10% on it in terms of marketing budget, or how should I think about it?
The marketing budget is completely depending on your ROI. So if your ROI can be really high, like higher than 1.0, which basically means you make money, then it doesn't matter how much your revenue is. I would start with, if your budget is less than 5,000, I wouldn't even do it, because for Facebook algorithms, it's really hard to reach a sweet spot with lower budget, just because how machine learning works in Facebook.
Got it. So at the end of the day, it really depends. Don't focus on all top line, but you really need to understand your margin, your ROI before you actually spend anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Final 2 questions in 1 minute. Amazing. And you talk so much about like ML and data, and you said earlier, right? So which have a big budget, these big companies can afford like their managing own data. But is there any plug and play solution on the ML side for marketing data that for much smaller brands, or if at all?
Honestly, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to sell my company, but like really that's why I started my company, because I really don't see it. And then, so that's why when I was helping all these big companies build it, like for us, we'd rather just buy, but I really don't know like plug and play machine learning for e-commerce right now. If I know, I would have just like told them to buy it. Yeah. Sorry.
All good, all good. And then last but not least, how about like your favorite blogs or blogger that we should follow to learn more?
I really like Elad Gil. He wrote a book called just Hypergrowth. You can just search his name on this. He sees things in a completely different way because he's an early investor of like Twitter and all these different platforms. So he sees things in a very data-driven way and very like universal. Yeah.
Awesome, cool. I'm pasting his book for everybody if you wanted to check it out, and it's on the chat. But with that said, we're 1 minute over. Thank you everyone for spending the time with us and with Frost today. Her email is frostandonsocialchat.com. Reach out to her if you're working on an e-commerce brand. She's super busy, so reach out wisely and give her more information. And then last but not least, final announcement, we finally interview over 150 companies that apply for our accelerator. And we're going to accept less than 6% of the company, harder than going to Harvard. But for those of you who apply, we're going to reach out either way for our final decision soon. So thank you for all your support, and we'll see you in August. Thank you so much, Frost. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.